Hello, YouTube. Thank you for joining me today. I do appreciate your time. This will be another edition into the Get Real series, where uncensored dialogue is appreciated and is often expressed without script, where one-dimensional movement for the sake of clarity is not required. Here, you are solely responsible for your reaction to my expressed content. Here, dissenting voices have a voice. Many times, I have confirmed with you I am neither a Democrat, a libertarian in any form, or Republican. I am neither one who serves the right or left. However, I always had a soft spot, a huge soft spot in my heart of hearts for right-wingers. So many come across as being blue ribbon bigots. Likewise, I have a sentimental affection for liberals. So many of the white ones come across as the great white hope as they feed their savior complex. No matter how hard I attempt to abandon them, like many libertarians abandon reality, my fellow Americans keep attempting to make me participate in their reindeer games. This said, it was revealed to me during my early 20s that there were many false conflicts. Some of the most effective were constructed from a polarity setup, like public and private, black and white, left and right, also free enterprise and government. There was an ability to keep the public in a political trance, all without the use of acid or mescaline, devilweed, or the sort. Upholding false dichotomies was a waste of time and a means to keep us busy. This became obvious when I realized private versus public, for the most part, was meaningless today because private, through debt, appears to control public. As I advanced in my understanding of the world, I knew something was afoot when observing the very rich and the poor within my state. Later, it was magnified when observing the light-colored people versus the darker ones, and even more in your face when observing formally educated versus the unlettered. I noticed many times the way one group advanced depended on how they enriched themselves, how they waxed self-righteousness as helpers of a cause, or how skilled they were at controlling the debate. Notice, none of these activities has anything to do with truth. The truth they both avoid is there is no such thing as equality between individuals, not even in law. Laws governing social relations are interpretive. I would even offer there is no such thing as tolerance attributable to lack of involvement. One can strive for this if valued, however, itself purely interpretive. The strongest party in a contractual relationship controls the contract. So, more focus, in my opinion, in my reasoning, needs to be placed on discernment and the value of fairness as it relates to social, economic, and political interactions. This is the closest we can get to being essentially equal in opportunity. This is not to be confused with end results. Problem is, both parties will not acknowledge government is bought by money, which enforces contractual interpretations of the strongest party. Interpretation of a contract is decided in favor of the entity having the greatest resources. The resources that matter most are access to money, media, government, or guns. The entity having access to the greatest resources is the strongest party to the contract. It does not matter how it is labeled: public, standard legal, private, or the social contract. Contracts do not imply voluntary agreement. Unfortunately, for the strongest party, contracts are tools of coercion. Coercion is far from a government monopoly. Public or private tyrants can be manipulated by fear of death or appealed to by acquirement, be it sacrifice or exchange. This is a type of power, though dirty, it has to be acknowledged, if we're going to keep it real. This said, the right-wingers just entice me more than their left-wing counterparts. They are just such great examples of virtue, such wonderful saboteurs of reason. I am enamored with the insistence that only they are patriots, and only they defend liberty. I have noticed that many of the highly intelligent ones have a secret that they would like to endorse eugenic breeding of men. The breeding of men to better fit whatever economic system they prefer. Of course, this suits the premise that white people are the most industrious, hardworking, creative, moral, all the good things. This said, there is always laughter produced when the right-wingers willfully label others who refuse to subscribe to the system as either socialists, commies, or members of the left. Both of these groups, the right and the left, consistently play into modern and correct thinking, what they consider to be such. They both do not seriously take into account the incremental advances in human history unless it benefits them to do so. If they did, little things like considering video games as a healthy part of growing up versus going outside, enjoying your environment, and hopefully, let's say, build a good social skill set with peers, would not have happened. Now let's take a left turn if we could, please. Let's veer sharply, but we'll stay on focus all at the same time. Fox News, in my eyes, is as glorious as Mahler's Symphony No. 9 in D major, as glorious as Dvorak's Symphony, also No. 9, but in E minor, as penetrating and powerful as Miles Davis' Nefertiti or Billy Harper's Black Saint. Yes, indeed. Its might is righteous because they succeed in making liberals right. This, of course, perpetuates the false conflicts. They absolutely do the best job validating every negative stereotype ever asserted about right-wing ideologues. Of course, viewing Hume's special report or the O'Reilly factor is a disconcerting exercise for anyone with a working brain. If I only had a brain. Anyway, more than not, these shows appear to thrive on illustrating instances of liberal hypocrisy, liberal stupidity, liberal dishonesty. Of course, there is no fair and honest reporting. Not once have I viewed a report that reflect poorly on the neoconservative ilk. Nada, baby. And I wonder why. Why am I sharing that Fox is the best? It's because you need to know. It's because I need to tell you. I need to shout it from the mountaintops. Do you doubt Fox's foolish passion for warmongering? Can you truly state that there has been a network that has beaten the drums of war louder than Fox, especially since the attacks of 9/11? Could it be that Fox is operating as an extension of the Republican Party? Surely that can't be. The ignoramuses are plenty as they stagger about with their political bias which is laced with hatred via ad hominem, sophomoric coverage, and is devoid of acuity. They constantly request the viewer to swallow propaganda that is exceptionally inedible. Rabid patriotism, which is anything but patriotic, along with some good old white rage, contaminates. This is why I love them so. Thank you for listening.